So I've been sitting here debating on how the heck am I going to go about this video. As you all know, whenever I review motorcycles, I like to be at around 1,000 miles or at least my first service, which is 600 miles, which I am at on this bike actually. But I was thinking like, do I want to review it or do I want to do a first impressions? Even though first impressions aren't reviews, but I like doing them because they're kind of exciting, like that raw feedback right with your first couple rides of the bike. But honestly, with this bike, I'm kind of like, well, there's really not much else I need to test. I've put it through some pretty good tests out there, and I think I am ready to review this bike. And the bike we're going to be talking about is my new Honda SCL500, or overseas known as the CL500, because CL500 in the States is a Mercedes classed car, hence it being SCL, which honestly makes it pretty confusing finding parts online. And talking about parts, you can see I have quite a few mods on this bike, which we're not going to talk about today. I might chime in about them, but I'll have a dedicated video about mods. I have a whole lot coming in for this bike. It's going to be a pretty exciting build, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for those future videos. But the first thing I want to talk about this motorcycle is the styling, the looks, as this might be the most controversial topic about this motorcycle online, as some people are like, yeah, it doesn't really look that good. A lot of people complain about the exhaust. I don't know. I personally really like it. I mean, it just goes up. You got that little heat shield up there. I think it looks pretty darn good. Now, yes, it is low slung down there, not helping out with our ground clearance. That's the biggest bummer about it. But as far as the styling up here, I like it. I mean, it is pretty darn heavy, I'm sure, which we got a replacement coming in that mod video, but again, I like it. But going up to the bike, looking at the rest of the styling, I honestly think it looks pretty good. I would say the one thing that throws me off a little bit is it's small, like the gas tank's small. I'm used to like the Triumph Scramblers, and those gas tanks are a whole lot bigger. So this does feel very tiny right up here. I wish it was just a little bit wider, not necessarily taller, but wider. But other than that, I think the styling of this bike looks really, really good. Now, as far as the orange colorway, talking about styling, if you watched my first video on this bike, this would have been my last pick. I would have taken the matte black, the green one, and then this one. So I do got a mod coming to help out with that. So again, stay tuned for that one. But this orange, it does look good. Orange just isn't my jive. I'm like a black, white, and red kind of guy, you know? So it does look good, and the paint, the sparkles in it look really sharp, but orange just would have been my last pick. But hey, when you find a good deal, you got to jump on it, no matter what color it is. Now, this next topic is probably one of the key points I really want to emphasize on this motorcycle, and that is the riding position, actually sitting on it, which it's pretty darn low. I don't know how well the camera picks up this kink in my legs. I'm pretty much right at 6 feet, inseam of 32 or 33. And again, I sit on this with the kink in my legs. I can stand up and again, dance the bike around. You know, it almost feels just a pinch shorter than my 24 Africa Twin. Y'all remember I praised how nice and low that bike was, but it is maybe a little bit too low for me. And that goes whenever I put my feet up on the pegs right here. So I'm still got that slight bend down, and then my feet go back just a pinch right here. And I catch myself getting a little bit of cramps over here in my hips when I'm coming from a stoplight. I'm the 1 foot down on the left and I get to shift and I'm like, oh geez, I get that cramp. So again, I got a mod to help out with that as well, but I do like the positioning of the bike. I just feel like my footing position, my leg position is again, maybe a little bit low. I wish I was up just a pinch and it would help out with those cramps. And talking about the height of the SCL500, I want to show you it compared up to my Rally. And I'm not trying to compare these bikes, but you know, that might make a good future video. The SCL500 off-road and then the Rally off-road. Give myself a little idea here. But anyways, just looking at the height difference, like look how big my Rally looks. Like if I put this to the side of me, it's all the way up here pretty much by my hip. I mean, heck, if I swing a leg over this, I have to tippy toe this. I cannot flat foot this bike anymore. Now, I got suspension upgrades and everything on this bike, hence the reason it's a little bit taller. But now, looking at the SCL500, like it's just a little bit almost above my knee, like halfway up there from my thigh to my knee. Just looking at them, it is a massive difference. I mean, you can just see it right here. It's like makes the SCL500 look small. Now, the other thing about the riding position of this bike is the weight. As you do slightly notice it being a little bit top heavy. I mean, you got this big metal gas tank up here. You don't really have much down low on it. So I think what a lot of people might be asking is like, hey, is this a good beginner's bike? And I've done a couple videos before talking about the Honda Rebel or the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Those are two bikes that I would recommend before this as a beginner's bike. Most people will probably look at the power, oh, it's a 500, so it's perfectly fine for a beginner, you know what I mean? But when you look at the ergonomics and everything, I'd feel like you'd be a whole lot more confident on those two other bikes than this. But I just want to let you know, like for a new rider, you are going to notice that weight definitely being towards the top of your legs rather than kind of down there. So if it goes over a little bit on you, again, you start feeling that weight big time. Now, as far as this seat right here, you hear a lot of people talk about it not being comfortable. As far as the width of it, I think it's perfectly fine, but the density, it is a little bit firmer. Now, I think over a break-in and a few more miles, it might get better, but I think a replacement would probably be something pretty darn nice. Again, just getting a little bit more plushness. Again, I got something coming in for, again, the height of it, but as far as plushness, I think it'll still be the same. It's not uncomfortable, but again, if you're on the bike for longer periods of time with the combination of the suspension, it is kind of jarring and it's not very plush. And of course, the other thing you're definitely going to notice with this whenever you're riding is the wind. Like it's a scrambler style, so you got no fairings or anything on it. With an adventure bike, you always got that wind blockage, but on this, it almost pulls your legs back. So you got two options, either keep your legs in or keep them out a little bit and let that air flow through. You see, I already have a windshield on here. Got another one coming in to do a little comparison, but this helps out big time. If not, again, it's pulling you off the bike. So if you want to do any, backway highways, not interstate or anything, you're going 65, 70 miles an hour, you do definitely feel the wind pulling you on this bike big time. And talking about going 65, 70 on the highway, you can definitely get up and do whatever you need to with this Honda 500. And this is my first time using or riding the Honda 500 line here, which is a very popular engine, right? They're CBs, they're Rebels. I now get why they're so popular. It is that perfect versatile engine that you can jump on the interstate if you need. It's perfect for the back roads. It's truly that perfect platform. You got plenty of power with this. And let me tell you what, coming over here to the opposite side, when we talk about the shifter, I mean, it just feels so good. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. Like, would I want a quick shifter on this bike? Probably not, because I love the simplicity of it. Most of my bikes always have all the bells and whistles, but with this one being quite simplistic, I just love it. I mean, coming up here to the clutch, it just feels butter smooth and perfect. The throttle response is perfect as well. Again, this engine, this platform of the 500 is so darn nice. I get why it's so popular now. Now, of course, one of the biggest downfalls of this bike, for at least what I intend to use it for, being off-roading, is the ground clearance. I mean, there's just about none right here. You got the exhaust laying right down here. You got your oil pan all the way down here. Of course, I got a skid plate inbound, which is gonna reduce my ground clearance even more, but it definitely needs something. I wish Honda had a good solution for this, you know. I don't know. It's just not even so much the ground clearance, but I think whenever I put something underneath it, I'm going to take more of that away, which is a bit of a stinker. So I don't know. Do they just need more suspension to raise it up a little bit? That's probably another big downfall about this bike. Now, another thing that was shockingly really good on this bike were these stock tires. The Trail Max Mix Tours, the Dunlops. These were actually pretty nice. If you look at them like this, you got plenty of siphons going through here. So you got grip on the corner, grip on the middle. Nothing too deep, but definitely plenty if you're doing basic fire roads. And I did do plenty on these as they were very good. And of course, they're very nice on the street. But I did change mine out over here to the Shinko. We have the, what are they? The 805s and then the 804s in the front, I believe they are. And these are just, again, a lot better if you're gonna hit some mud or deep sand, which we got a lot down here. And let me be honest with you, like, I wanted to go for that scrambler look. So as naive as it sounds, I think these look a whole lot better. But yes, if you're doing any more serious off-roading, which I'm not doing anything intense or expert, but I do a lot of off-roading, and something like this does definitely help out. But I was shocked with how good the stock tires were. Now, something that is not as good as the tires is the suspension. This might be the worst thing on this bike. And we might sit here and say, oh, if you're just sticking to road, you're gonna be perfectly fine. Well, that's really depending on your roads, right? Do you got beat up roads, potholes? You're gonna feel it just like if you're off-road. I mean, look how loose and weak this spring is. It can just move around. I mean, heck, and I can adjust the suspension with just my hand. I don't even have to pull out a tool. It just adjusts like that. And let me tell you what, when you're off-road, or heck, even on a beat up road, you feel it. It is just, oh my gosh, it is gonna jar you. It even goes into the front suspension right there. Whenever you're bouncing down or off-road with the washout, you're gonna have to stand up just to take some of that relief off your back and your arms coming through. I mean, seriously, that is probably the worst thing about this bike, especially if you're like me and you're getting this bike to do some off-road. And I wanna go do like the Georgia BDR, Smoky 500, stuff like that. I plan to do a lot of off-roading with this bike. Yeah, sure, it'll be a lot slower than a serious off-road bike, but again, that suspension, you feel. We think the suspension is bad on like the 300Ls where it's soft and plush. Well, this, you just don't have much in it. There's no give. You hit, bam, and it is down and you feel it. Now I want to talk about the tech on this bike, or lack thereof. So let's go down here, flick this key on, come up here and look at our screen. Now, I don't know if you can really see it with the glare here, but you can see you got a gear shift indicator, your time, your speed, your fuel gauge, your mileage. We can cycle trip A, trip B. My gas mileage, by the way, currently is 57.2, if you guys can see that in there. And then we can just cycle through. So the tech on this bike is minimalistic. Heck, it's less than my 300L Rally, as I can turn off the ABS on that. So this bike has less tech. And y'all know me, having bikes with a lot of tech, from my Triumph to Africa Twins. They have everything, right? And I love that stuff. I really do. But talking about this bike, it's really registering me now. People like in the comments will say, oh, I don't want a bike with all the tech, this, that, or the other. And I'm like, well, I love the tech, which I do, but this is really connecting me. I'm seeing what they're saying. I'm not saying I'm never gonna have a bike with no tech. Like, again, I live for tech, I love it, and I'll always have one, but having an option like this truly hits different. When I'm on the road, I just don't mess with anything, right? I'm not worried about this mode or that mode. I can go on-road, off-road, highways, back roads, and I'm not tweaking and adjusting my suspension electronically, or the cruise control, or ride modes. I'm just riding, I'm enjoying the scenery, I'm connected with the ride and the bike, and it's just such a different experience when I'm riding that I'm almost enjoying myself more. Now, one other thing I want to talk about as far as tech within the screen is being able to read the screen, right? The brightness of it. And when I bought the bike, it was actually set to the lowest brightness. You can hold both of these buttons down, cycle through your settings when you're adjusting time, and then you can adjust the brightness here. And again, when I bought it, it was set to the lowest, which no, I couldn't read. And I'm like, what the heck? I can't see it at all. Now, right now we're underneath trees and we got the sun coming through, but whenever you're riding, it looks like that. And let me tell you what, I can see it perfectly fine whenever I'm riding now that I adjusted it. So I'm not sure if people are leaving it on the lowest setting right from the factory, but when you get in there and actually adjust it, you can see it perfectly fine. I never have issues from riding in the sun or anything like that. I truly can see the screen, so I'm not sure what that complaint is about. Don't worry about that one. So as I sit here and share with you my pros and cons, things I like, my plan, how I ride this bike, right? Is it the perfect bike? No, obviously it's not, right? But heck, is any motorcycle perfect? The thing that makes a good motorcycle is it fun? And I'll tell you what, I am having an absolute blast with this bike. Number one, didn't cost an arm and a leg like many other bikes, you know, but being able to build it out and really ride anything out there and make this bike yours, being able to connect with your ride, bringing back what motorcycle riding is for me, where I'm not like, oh, let me get there as quick as I can. Let me take those back roads and enjoy that journey. That's what this bike is doing for me. And I tell you what, I'm having an absolute blast with it. But of course, we're just getting started here. As I mentioned, we're gonna be doing some mods with this. I plan on doing some tours with this, which is probably around 9-hour ride or so. I'm gonna go do that Georgia BDR with this. I might wait for it to again, heat up a little bit here. But again, I have a lot planned for this bike, and it's just gonna be fun and interesting, something a little bit different than your basic ADV bike or dual sport or something, you know? I'm really excited to put it through its paces, really test out some mods for it. So again, I hope you guys stick around for this series on this bike, as it's not just gonna be basic reviews, it's really be transforming kind of a basic simplistic bike into maybe touring slash adventure, really putting it through its paces. So it's going to be fun, even if, again, you're not looking to buy one. It's just seeing what the bike is capable of. And again, I hope this video was helpful and enjoyable. And if it was, please hit that thumbs up. Again, make sure to subscribe, because there's a lot of good content coming on this bike, a lot of fun content. So I hope to see you around for those. So make sure to hit that notification bell as well. And again, thank you so much for coming by for this one. Hope to see you around. Bye now.